PayPal announced it's expanding access to its US dollar-backed stablecoin PYUSD to users in 70 markets around the world. That means that people can now buy, hold, send, and receive PYUSD directly inside their existing PayPal accounts, or move it to external wallets and convert it into local currency. One PYUSD is designed to equal $1, so the price is always going to stay flat instead of fluctuating. But what makes this story unique is not just the technology, but the distribution. PayPal already has hundreds of millions of users. So by building PYUSD directly into its platform, it's removing all the extra steps and making it even simpler to use crypto. This is what real-world adoption looks like. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Crypto Explained with me, your crypto confidence coach, Allie. And today we're breaking down some of the most important crypto headlines that you're seeing all over your news feeds and probably your social media feeds too. And as per usual, we're going to break this down in a way that is super clear and easy to understand without any hype, without any jargon, and without any assumptions that you already get how any of this works. The goal is simple: to help you understand what's actually happening, why it matters, why you should care, and what you should really be paying attention to versus what you should maybe be tuning out, especially if you're new to crypto. Headlines can be so noisy and hypey and full of jargon and fear-mongering, but they can also be signals that hint at what's driving the industry forward, or maybe sometimes holding it back. So instead of scrolling past the news and feeling overwhelmed or just dismissing it, this episode is here to help you actually understand what's up. Let's get into some stories you may have heard about recently. Starting with headline 1. So the first story comes from Fast Company, and it's about a new documentary from the actor Benjamin McKenzie. Yes, the same guy who played Ryan, the main character in the TV show The OC in the 2000s. And this article and this documentary actually takes a pretty critical look at the crypto industry. So after the pandemic paused Ben's acting career, he got curious about crypto and says he wanted to understand why so many people were talking about it and using it. That eventually turned into a book, and now this movie, where he's interviewing people like Sam Bankman-Fried before the collapse of FTX. So let's pause here. As you may remember, Sam Bankman-Fried, aka SBF, is a convicted fraudster. When he was CEO of the crypto exchange FTX, he defrauded customers and investors for billions of dollars, and he's currently serving a 25-year prison sentence. But back to the article. Ben's movie argues that crypto may sound promising, but is really just all speculation and scammers. He even compares parts of the industry to pyramid schemes. We've heard these narratives before and seen these attempts to define the entire technology by a few bad actors. But we know the truth. Tens of millions of Americans are using crypto today in positive ways, from building financial independence to powering their businesses and passions. So this story is a reminder that crypto is still very, very new, and it's human nature to fear and even reject what's new and different. Change can be hard, confusing, even scary. And crypto is indeed a change. It gives you more ownership, more access, more choice, and cuts out a lot of the middlemen. That's why it's important to always slow down and build your own understanding instead of believing the hype, good or bad. So take the time to learn how crypto actually works, what problems it's actually being used to solve for, and what considerations or caveats may come along with it. Understand the difference between projects that have real utility and use and value, and those that are just driven by hype and headlines and price movement. It's also super important to be clear on your own why. Are you interested in crypto as an investment, as a technology, as a tool for moving money? Do you want to use it to pay for everyday purchases, donate to causes you care about, or save for the long term? So you don't have to have all of the answers right now. But when you know your reasons, it becomes a lot easier to filter out all of that noise and make the decisions that are best for you. Our goal is not to blindly trust or completely dismiss crypto. It's to understand it well enough to make sure that you're making the decisions that actually align with your life, your goals, and your future. So now let's move on to our next headline, which comes from CoinDesk, a cryptocurrency trade magazine. And it's about PayPal expanding its stablecoins around the world. This story is about one of the largest payment companies in the world pushing stablecoins further into global everyday use. And as you all remember, we had Mai Zabanya, the head of crypto at PayPal, on the podcast recently. If you missed that episode, I'll link to it in the show notes. I think it'll fill in a lot of the gaps. And I'll actually also link to a recent interview we did with Jack McDonald from Ripple all about stablecoins. back to the headline. PayPal announced it's expanding access to its US dollar-backed stablecoin PYUSD to users in 70 markets around the world. That means that people can now buy, hold, send, and receive PYUSD directly inside their existing PayPal accounts, or move it to external wallets and convert it into local currency. On the business side, this is where it actually gets really interesting. Merchants that accept PYUSD can now access their money within minutes. With traditional payment systems, that same process can take days, usually around 1 to 3 business days, sometimes even longer for international transfers. And that delay also comes with a lot of fees. Cross-border payments often include bank fees, currency conversion fees, and processing costs. But stablecoins reduce both the wait time and those extra layer of costs, which really matters to merchants. So here's a simple way to think about PYUSD. Like other stablecoins, it's a digital dollar. One PYUSD is designed to equal $1, so the price is always going to stay flat instead of fluctuating. But what makes this story unique is not just the technology, but the distribution. PayPal already has hundreds of millions of users. So by building PYUSD directly into its platform, it's removing all the extra steps and making it even simpler to use crypto. This is what real-world adoption looks like. You don't need to download a separate crypto app, manage a wallet, or even understand how blockchain works in order to use PYUSD through PayPal. It's built directly into the platform that you already know, trust, and use. This also shows how stablecoins are being positioned as sort of a better version of existing payment systems, especially for cross-border transfers. Faster settlements and lower costs are not just theoretical benefits. Companies like PayPal are actively building products around them so that real people and businesses can benefit today. Another really important takeaway here is that stablecoins are becoming part of global financial infrastructure. When a company with PayPal's reach and reputation expands a product like this into so many markets globally, it signals that stablecoins are moving even further into everyday use. And finally, this really highlights where the industry is heading. The goal is for money to move faster, cheaper, and more efficiently behind the scenes, even if you never think about the underlying technology that's powering it all. Now let's move on to headline 3, which comes from The Street. It's called Major Wall Street Bank Files Mysterious New Trademark. And this is actually another signal that banks are moving deeper into crypto. This article is all about Wells Fargo filing a trademark for the name WFUSD. That filing includes things like crypto trading, payments, digital wallets, and blockchain-based transfers. That alone is important because it shows that the bank is exploring multiple parts of the crypto ecosystem. But here's where it gets really interesting. The name WFUSD follows the same pattern as stablecoins, like we just talked about PYUSD for PayPal, RLUSD, which is Ripple's stablecoin, or even USDC or USDT. So when you see USD in the name, it usually means the asset is designed to equal $1. So while nothing is confirmed, this suggests that Wells Fargo could be exploring its own digital dollar in the form of a stablecoin. But it's important to note that a trademark does not mean a product is for sure launching. Companies file these early while they test ideas, but the direction matters. Banks have been experimenting with crypto quietly for years, and moves like this suggest they're getting closer to building real customer-facing products. When a major bank like Wells Fargo starts exploring things like digital assets and wallets, or even blockchain payments, it shows that this tech is being taken really seriously at the highest levels of traditional finance. Banks aren't standing still. For a long time, crypto was seen as competition to traditional finance and banks, but now many of these institutions are adapting and building their own versions of these tools. And for everyday users, this could eventually mean more options for you. You might end up using digital dollars issued by banks, fintech companies, crypto firms, all working to offer faster, cheaper, more seamless financial services. So this story is less about one product and more about how crypto is working with traditional systems. Now let's move on to headline 4, which comes from Bitcoin Magazine, and it's about Mastercard launching a global crypto partner program to bridge digital assets and traditional payments. This is another really clear example of how traditional finance, aka TradFi, and its infrastructure aren't being replaced by crypto, but instead starting to integrate into it. So, Mastercard announced a new initiative called the Crypto Partner Program, and it brings together more than 85 companies across crypto, fintech, and traditional banking, including a few names we dropped earlier in this episode, like PayPal, Ripple, and Crypto.com. The goal of this program is to explore how blockchain tech can be used inside existing payment systems rather than building entirely separate ones. So, the focus areas here include cross border payments, business to business transactions, and global payouts, which are all areas where money typically moves slower and costs more than it should. Mastercard isn't positioning this as a replacement for its current network. Instead, it's looking at how blockchain can improve what already exists. For example, blockchain can enable faster settlement, meaning transactions complete almost instantly instead of taking days. It can also support programmable payments, where transactions happen automatically based on certain conditions and allow payments to move across borders at any time, not just waiting for banking hours. So what makes this program different is the level of collaboration. These companies aren't just participating passively. They're working directly with Mastercard to shape new products, share expertise, and establish standards for how digital assets can be used at scale. And this is also building on the work that Mastercard has already been doing. The company supports crypto-linked debit and credit cards, invests in blockchain startups, and have developed new tools to help banks manage compliance and risk related to digital assets. So what this program does is bring all of those pieces together in a more structured framework to turn tech innovation into real-world financial products that can operate across systems and across global markets. Faster settlement, lower costs, and the ability to move money globally at any time are real advantages, but they become so much more impactful when they're connected to established networks like Mastercard. So this highlights a broader trend. Instead of asking people to switch entirely to crypto platforms, companies are working to bring the benefits of crypto into familiar traditional experiences. That might look like using a card, sending a payment, or receiving funds, again, without needing to think about the underlying technology. So finally, this really reinforces the idea that collaboration is becoming a major driver of growth in the space. Crypto companies, banks, payment networks, they're no longer operating in isolation and silos. They're working together to build systems that work better for businesses and consumers alike, which is so exciting. Now let's jump to headline 5, which comes from Fortune, and it's called "There's a Strong Case for AI in Crypto, but you have to squint to see it." So this story looks at something a little different from some of the other headlines we just talked about. Instead of focusing on where crypto is today, it actually explores where crypto might be heading in the future, especially how it might connect with artificial intelligence, or AI. The article points out that both AI and crypto are industries that attract a lot of hype, which we know, and that can make it really difficult to separate fact from fiction or what's real from what's still theoretical. But despite that, there are early signs that these two technologies could work together in a really meaningful way. And one of the main ideas discussed is something called agentic payments. This may sound technical, but the concept is actually pretty simple. It refers to software, or in this case, AI agents, being able to make small payments automatically on behalf of users or systems. For example, instead of you manually entering your credit card information to pay for something online, an AI agent could handle that process for you. It could make frequent, small transactions in the background as needed. And this article explains that stablecoins could play a really key role in enabling this. Why? Because traditional payment systems like credit cards aren't built for high-frequency, low-value transactions. They're pretty slow, they involve multiple intermediaries, and they come with fees that don't always make sense, especially when you're transacting in really small payments. But stablecoins, on the other hand, can move quickly, operate globally, and settle transactions at a lower cost. That makes them a potential fit for a world where software is constantly transacting. The article also points out that the internet never fully developed a native payment layer. Even today, something as simple as paying a small amount to read an article or access data online can be surprisingly difficult and frustrating. Micropayments have never really taken off because the systems we use weren't designed for them. So this is where the combination of AI and stablecoins comes in. Together, they can create a system where payments happen seamlessly in the background, enabling entirely new types of online transactions and business models. But at the same time, this article takes a cautious tone. Right now, this type of activity is still super early. Stablecoin-powered transactions tied to AI make up a very small fraction of the overall global e-commerce market. So there is potential there, but it's not yet a popular or dominant use case. This headline shows how crypto is not just being explored for how people use money, but also for how people might program machines to use money. That's a really big shift. Another important takeaway here is that stablecoins may play a role in enabling new types of payments that current systems struggle with, especially when it comes to those micropayments, those small, frequent transactions. So while this is really promising and is showing two really interesting cutting-edge technologies and tools coming together to potentially make our lives even easier, it's also important to keep our expectations grounded. The infrastructure is being built and companies are experimenting, but it is very early days. Some of the most important use cases may take time to develop, and they may look very different from how we're thinking about crypto today or even talking about it in this podcast episode. Now let's get into headline 6, which is our last headline, and it comes from Fortune and focuses on Tether, the company behind the stablecoin USDT that I mentioned earlier. So Tether's a key player in the crypto space. Its core product, USDT, is a stablecoin that's pegged to the US dollar. It's widely used to send money, store value, and move funds globally. But what's interesting here is not just the stablecoin itself, but what Tether's doing with its position in the market. The company's been expanding into areas like telecommunication, data centers, other forms of infrastructure, and even agriculture. That signals a really big shift from simply being a crypto company to being a broader financial and tech player. And that matters because of how widely USDT is already being used. For millions of people, especially those in countries with unstable currencies or limited banking access, USDT acts like a digital version of the US dollar and is a way to hold value and move money more easily through local financial systems. As regulations become clearer, companies and financial leaders are starting to explore how stablecoins can be used for payments, treasury management, and global transfers. So this isn't just about a company growing, it's about a company expanding its role in how global systems operate. The companies that started in crypto are no longer just participating in finance, they're expanding into the systems that sit underneath the financial infrastructure. And that's pretty cool. All right, there you have it. Those are the headlines for this episode. All of them highlight how crypto's moving from the edges to more and more mainstream to becoming more of the core of how we think about how value moves. So if you found this helpful, share this episode with someone who keeps seeing crypto in the headlines and has no idea what they actually mean. I, for sure, am going to share this with my mom, who sends me crypto headlines all of the time and asks me to explain what they mean. And if you want more episodes like this where we break down things in plain English without the noise, make sure you're following Crypto Explained. And the next time you see a headline about crypto, instead of just scrolling past it and maybe even rolling your eyes, hopefully now you'll better understand what it's actually telling you. I'll see you in the next one.